Hi, hello, and welcome, friends, to another episode of the War on China. My name is Fernando Munoz Bernal, and I'm joined today by Mario Cabolo from Shenyang. I'm in Qingdao in Shandong province. Today, as always, when we see something in the news that is important to share with you and to comment, we make a show and bring it up to you. Um, what we're going to do today is we're going to address this report this article that was printed in the Wall Street Journal. Uh, that mentions that for decades, the West has tried to bring China into the coalition of the civilized countries, which is one of the most racist things I have heard in a very long time from mainstream media. So that's one of the thing. That's what the main thing that we're going to talk about. But we cannot escape the other related topics. For example, the consequences of Pelosi's visit and everything that is taking place diplomatically, militarily, etc., etc., etc. So, what we are going to do today, the format that we're going to follow is we're going to have a couple of statements. So, Mario is going to begin with his first statement, something that he wants a large audience to hear. It will be between 2 and 3 minutes. And then I will also present to you my perspective on certain things. And from there, we just go into the different exhibits or the different things that we want to show you and we want to discuss with you. So, three different parts. The later part will probably be the longer one. For those of you who are just watching and joining us, make sure to hit the like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is getting more and more important to hear voices from the ground. Well, without further ado, I would like to then leave it up to you, Mario, to introduce yourself and whatever you want to say to the world today. So, Mario.
Thanks very much. And hi, friends. The situation we're in now has reached a far higher level of seriousness. Nancy Pelosi, with her visit to Taiwan, has become a far greater catalyst than she ever could have imagined. And it suddenly occurred to me a couple of days ago after her visit to Taiwan that what I've now named the new Taiwan paradigm is the new policy. We've moved way beyond the one China policy. Just not in the way that I think Nancy or the United States perhaps was hoping. Um, I tell many of my readers and viewers that I don't often offer opinion. I like to stick more to where there's information out there that is evidently certain, what I call apodeictic. And if it's evidently certain, then I'm not sharing my opinion. I'm sharing my observation of what is happening. That isn't an opinion. However, in this case, I'm going to share an opinion. Uh, First, and I want to acknowledge that to you because we're future pacing a bit to what we think is going to be happening in the coming weeks, months, and even years. First, it's my opinion that China's enhanced military presence around Taiwan is permanent, meaning until they decide otherwise, which I believe could be a really, really long time. Furthermore, this is actually a very good thing for China and Taiwan and for the entire world of peace and stability. The reason is because in doing so, China is actually the first country which the US has failed to contain again and again and again that has now finally brought the US to heel. They have to stop their warmongering. And if they don't, it will be more and more obvious that they are the malign player, that they are the threat to the world, not China. Because it's a fact that China's military buildup all these decades exists as a defensive position against any further violations and provocations of China's sovereignty via Taiwan by the United States and anyone colluding with them. Let me repeat that. It is a fact, it is crystal clear that China's military buildup all these decades exists as a defensive position. If you're not clear about that, just stop and ask yourself in the last half a century how many countries China has started a war with or attacked. And the answer is zero. Okay, so their military buildup is defensive because of US provocations and other threats to China's growing expansion across the world and even sovereignty. It's sovereignty with the violation with the formal breach of the one-child policy with Pelosi's thumbs up to China visit to Taiwan. We all know primarily when I'm referring to separatists, this means any
On
Taiwanese
China.
DPP separatists and any pro-Taiwan separatists. Now, with an enhanced military ring of control and protection around the island, China is now in far greater control, and the U.S. can't do anything about that, really. Who is now in control? Who took control a few days ago? China. Thank God. Thank God, because this will create the stability that's needed to stop the warmongering hegemonic U.S. from continuing aggressive actions. If they do, they're crazy, they're out of their minds, and they will be roundly condemned by the entire world. Who is the country over the past half a century that has started wars in and attacked countless other countries, killing countless innocent families along the way? The United States, not China. It hurts to say it. I'm an American, and I'm not being anti-American. Many other prominent, respected American leaders and politicians have been saying the same thing. Okay, Jim Rogers, Tulsi Gabbard, Jeffrey Sachs. Actually, the list goes on and on and on. At this point, the message from China is crystal clear. You'll not get another inch within our territory of Taiwan. Taiwan is part of China, and now we've encircled it to protect it. This is a very, very important point. Our military is in place. It's going to stay there. If you do anything further, you're going to have to go through them. You will absolutely never take control of Taiwan, of the land space of Taiwan, and from there at all ever to act to harm China. Don't forget, Japan used Taiwan during the previous war as its de facto fort from which to attack the mainland. China's surely never going to let Japan or America or any foreign force take over Taiwan again. From this point forward, it's less likely to happen than ever. So this enhanced military buildup, you're told, is to attack Taiwan. No, it's not at all. That's your Western propaganda talking. This enhanced military buildup is to protect Taiwan as part of China and to protect China's sovereignty. Actually, it's that stabilizing force. Who doesn't welcome that? I certainly do. I'm an American living here in China. I'm getting increasingly nervous on a daily basis. Why? Because China is provoking the world? No, because the United States is provoking the world, and China is just acting to protect its sovereignty. So the United States has very much been brought to heel in this situation right now. Second, I want to move on to a much more rosy and happy and positive point. The dynamics between China and Taiwan are far more positive than, again, you're led to believe. Oh, China wants to attack and invade and take over Taiwan. This is nonsense. Moving on to this much more rosy and happy and positive point, everyone needs to understand another huge piece to the China-Taiwan puzzle. It has nothing to do at all with the United States. The United States is not involved and shouldn't be involved, but of course they are. And that is this. There is a lot, an enormous amount of wonderful relationships and warmth and friendship and trade between China and Taiwan. Besides the reckless DPP separatists, there are plenty of Taiwanese politicians and citizens who are gladly in their relationship and friendship and trade with China and have been for decades, which, by the way, is substantial. China is a far larger trading partner than the U.S. to Taiwan, 3 times larger. 45% of Taiwan's trade is with China. So there are fascinating positive dynamics in place here, and that, of course, is what Western reports don't want you to realize is the case between Taiwan and China. What about imports? Taiwan imports are twice as much as from China as they are from the U.S. In addition, Taiwan companies on the mainland do over $200 billion in revenue. So the fact is, between mainland China and Taiwanese, there's more friendship and nice relations than not. You're never told this. Why would China protect Taiwan? To preserve that. Even amongst Taiwanese, with the vast majority happy to just let the situation remain in harmony and stable balance. Who is the only party provoking the situation and trying to break the stable harmony and balance? The United States, along with the Taiwan, with the DPP separatists. These are the facts. This part is very clear, not opinion. It's only a small group of separatist troublemakers who are trying to convince you otherwise. Why does it seem in our world for the past 70 years the United States never seems to have harmony and stable balance as its vision and mission for the world? It certainly hasn't for all the countries that it has tried to take over and install puppet governments in Latin America, for Syria, for Iraq, for Libya, for Lebanon. Do I have to continue? For Afghanistan, and now here they are for Ukraine, and now they're doing it again and again and again. So who is the threatening guilty party? It makes me sad as an American to point it out. Well, now we have the new Taiwan paradigm. China has locked down Taiwan against any further direct, indirect, symbolic, or implied breaches by the United States. And they have also just announced that they're giving them the silent treatment on pretty much everything that might want to be discussed without formally cutting off diplomatic relations. What's there to talk about someone who does nothing but harass you and lie to you? I couldn't blame China more. I couldn't agree more with China. They've effectively shut down the diplomatic relationship without formally doing so. Let the United States, or led by the United States, the world has been lied to about China, disgracefully so, with false claims of genocide, forced labor, ruining Hong Kong, being the threat to the world, when again, they have been in zero wars for almost half a century. And of course, Taiwan. The one China policy was intentionally, steadily, but intentionally breached. Nancy's visit was the final nail in the coffin, and she probably knew that it would be, even though they'll deny it. We now know Nancy's otherwise pointless visit is that last nail in the coffin that China would tolerate. China's response brings clarity, therefore peace and stability against endless U.S. provocations to stabilize. This surprises to destabilize. This surprises no one. And now the world is in a much better place. An interesting take, isn't it? Some argue China and the U.S. should be engaged in climate talks together. Why? What's the point in China speaking with the U.S. about climate talks or anything else? China is already doing far more investment and commitment in terms of dollars and projects to stop and improve climate change situation than any other country in the world. What do they have to talk to any other country about? It's a perfect example of what I'm saying. That's everything that I had to say. Thanks for listening.
Um, Mario, thank you very much. That's a very important message to send out there. I also would like to share with you something that I wrote for state media here. So I would like to present to you my opinion on what actually took place. I actually feel that what we just experienced was another attempt at discrediting China, like Hong Kong, like Xinjiang. This is just another affront on China's sovereignty. It's an affront to the will of the Chinese people and to the pillars of Sino-American diplomatic relations. America tried again to bait China into a proxy conflict, as they often do. They failed to anticipate Beijing's response. I also like to think that this Pelosi visit is an opportunity for China in many different fronts. When they watch her come and go safely, they demonstrated that the principle of the one China policy is true, is real, is not just talk. It also put in evidence that it is the United States the one that is changing the status quo. And at the same time, it showed to the world that China is not the threat. They have effectively effaced the line between mainland and the Taiwan Strait. So this is very beneficial for China. Now, it's important to consider the reported news that the invitation to Pelosi was actually withdrawn, because that actually means that there are sensible people in Taiwanese leadership, people that understand, as Mario was saying, that the relationship between the two countries is substantial and that is worth protecting. Now, on a military point of view, what we have seen taking place, uh, I think that Beijing is doing several things that are worth pointing out. Uh, Number one, Beijing is drawing the red line that America pretend they did not cross. They're now showing the exact extent of China's territorial waters and airspace. Um, it's also being reported that the US is planning to uh, sail across the Taiwan Strait on some sort of freedom of navigation exercise. But it's no longer Taiwan's territorial waters. This is China's territorial waters. So it's clearly easy to see who the aggressor is in this case. It's important to note that not a single building, not a single key infrastructure, not a single civilian or Taiwanese compatriot has died in these military exercises because that is not the purpose. The purpose is to establish the real territory of China, both on the sea and on its airspace. It has always been like that. It's one China. What else do you expect? It's their territory. So that should be it. Another purpose is to castigate leadership of Taiwan. They were participants in this affront to China's sovereignty, to China's to the diplomacy that existed up until well a few days ago. You cannot claim that there are sound diplomatic relations between China and America when you have the second in line to the presidency speaking in public from a pulpit saying that Taiwan is a country. You cannot do that and say that you nothing has changed. Everything has changed. So now we need to face the consequences. I expected the diplomatic relations to be terminated, the ambassador Burns, the American ambassador to China, to be sent back home. But China took a more measured approach. They sanctioned the Pelosi family and they implemented this suspension of these 8 bilateral agreements that are extremely important because China has realized that every single time that America lends a hand, when they meet, they hold a dagger in the other. The first thing that comes to mind is the sanctions that the Americans imposed on China when the delegation was on its way to the Alaska meeting. That's, I mean, is any other example of the double speak that America uses diplomatically with China.
It's, it's absurd.
Now, the other thing is America uses language to confuse. So there's this question about is it a Taiwan question or a Taiwan issue? What we all know is that China doesn't doesn't have any controversy when it comes to the understanding of the Taiwan question. You have an issue when there is controversy or something is not clear and something needs to be discussed. There's nothing to be discussed here. It is one China, and Taiwan is part of China, period. How they're going to reunify is the question, and that's why it's referred to as the Taiwan question. I want to remind you that America is very good at playing with words. No other two words have been used more often to start wars in areas and regions around the world that are of political or economic interest to America than freedom and democracy. That's how they use language. So I would like to wrap up this short summary of what we are experiencing and what we're going to dwell on a little bit more today by saying that we need to do everything we can to let people know that this is not what China wanted. This is not how China wanted this reunification to take place. They were hoping for an American economy to decay, to continue uh, struggling. There's trillions of dollars in debt, and now they're promising, oh, we're going to do this relief, the Inflation Relief Act. That only means printing more money. That only means more inflation. That only means liquefying the value of the dollar and putting their country in more trouble. So that's all China needed. China had all the time in the world to deal with the Taiwan question. Once America can no longer support insurrection or wars or color revolutions in other countries, well, Taiwan would look around and say, like, hey, this is my largest trade partner in the world. Perhaps it will make sense if we unite, if we come together and become the leaders of the world. So, as you can see, China has absolutely no reason to invade. You heard it again and again from Xi Jinping. All they want is peaceful reunification in time. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. But now we're going to go into Mario. Let's go into this particular article and discuss. Well, this was really really horrible, guys.
Yeah.
Let me bring it up here first. This is the
The
Wall
Wall Street
Street
Journal
Journal.
article. Ah,
Yes.
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So they say that for half a century, the West has been trying to bring China into the coalition of the civilized.
Who's that?
What
Who's the
do
who?
you read?
Who?
This is
Who?
Wall Street Journal.
Who? No, who is the who is the coalition of the civilized?
The
The coalition
West.
of the civilized? The coalition led by the United States, who for 70 years has been starting wars, countless wars, and massacring countless of innocent people. Oh, what's that just popped up on the screen, ladies and gentlemen? Let's
Is
take
a
a
list
look.
of US bombing.
The last thing the United States did as it was exiting Afghanistan, which it spent 10 years in and spent $1 trillion as a military economy, the last thing that the United States did as it was exiting Afghanistan to leave them alone was drone bomb a family of 10 people by accident. This is the coalition of the civilized that we've been trying to get China to come into, during which the same, as I said earlier, half a century, how many countries has China attacked or started a war with? Zero. Do uncivilized countries attack and start wars? I guess they do. Do civilized countries start wars? No. China hasn't started any wars. When I read that, I was just like, you've got to be kidding. Okay, Fernando, I'm done. Your turn.
Well, you've got to start looking at this racist media post from the perspective of Asian people living abroad. How unsafe does that make them? If you're a Chinese parent and you've sent your children to study in America, and now the Wall Street Journal is saying, like, oh, these are the uncivilized people that we haven't been able to bring into the civilized society that we are. How unsafe does that make those Americans? I mean, Brooke is a viewer, and he is right now in Washington State. How unsafe does that make him? When mainstream media is going out there and saying things that are just the most racist things you can think, and this is okay, and this is fine.
Utterly
There's another important thing that I wanted to brought to our attention here. One is the biggest issue that we've had with Nancy Pelosi coming to Taiwan. Number one, when she entered China's airspace, then the sovereignty was breached. When she landed, she literally spit in the will of Chinese people. It was known to the world that she was not welcome. They said it far and wide, do not come. Do not come. What does this woman do? I'll just come. I'll just come. I
yeah.
do not care about what you say. I do not care about what you want. I do not respect you as a nation. But the third thing that
What it was,
broke the camel's
100%.
back, when she's giving that speech from that pulpit in public with TV cameras as an official, as the second person in line to the presidency, and she calls Taiwan a country.
I mean, it was the
You
ultimate. It
cannot
was
call Taiwan a country. You do not call Taiwan a country from a public pulpit as the second in line to the presidency, because that is against the three communiques and the pillars of the diplomatic relation between the two countries. She broke diplomatic relationships at that moment. But guess what? Here's the news. Let me share this with you. Amid the ongoing military standoff, the US Senate is moving to formally abolish the One China policy. Was there ever one? They signed it, but did they ever respect it? The so-called Taiwan Policy Act of 2022, which is sponsored by Bob Menendez and Lindsey Graham, will designate Taiwan as a major non-NATO ally, giving it diplomatic recognition and ending the one-child policy. Now listen, gets worse. Our bill is the largest expansion of the military and economic relationship between our two countries in decades. So here, Senator Graham, once again, calling it a country, but showing the true colors. I said it in one of my videos. This is about money. This is about MIC. This is about controlling chip manufacturing. This is about how important Taiwan is. America does not care about international relations, about international diplomatic agreements or people. They'll bomb at all. So how can you claim to be the leader of the world? How can you claim that you are the beacon of freedom and democracy when you don't respect international agreements? You break, you step over the red line, and when the other party reacts, you twist it around, like Blinken was saying, oh, this is incommensurate with what happened. It was just a very peaceful visit. It's not a peaceful visit. It's not a peaceful visit when you call Taiwan a country from the floor in Taipei and you're the second in line to the presidency. That is not peaceful. That's what is causing where we are now. And they don't understand it. They don't want you to understand it. They don't want you to understand how upset the whole country is. And I've said it before. I need people to understand and appreciate the cool head of the Chinese government, the level head of the Chinese government, because you don't understand how much pressure there is to actually have a strong reaction. And you know what I mean by strong reaction. But they know that that is counterproductive. They know that you've got to appreciate truly the vision and the maturity. These are adults of the Chinese government for not taking the bait. Mario, there's one more thing that I want to mention, and this is super interesting. We have this again from the Wall Street Journal, Jonathan Chen, right? Talking about what was this about? Tell me.
Right. So this was this was well, Jonathan Chun retweeted it, but so this was what you said that the interviewer's CNN interviewer's name is Smirkonish. He was interviewing Roger Waters, who is the famous founder of Pink Floyd, and had become quite politically active over the years. And Roger Waters got these ridiculous not softball questions, but loaded questions from the interviewer, and told him he was full of crap. He says, as I mentioned earlier in my formal statement, China's military is encircling Taiwan, and Roger Waters turned around and says, they're not encircling Taiwan like they're against Taiwan, they're protecting Taiwan, right? And so. And then
let me show you 1 second. It's 20 seconds.
Go.
Let me show it.
The Chinese are too busy encircling Taiwan as we speak. Okay?
They're not encircling Taiwan. Taiwan is part of China. And that's been absolutely accepted by the whole of the international community since 1948. And if you don't know that, you're not reading enough. Go and read about it.
Okay. Did we solve anything here today?
Yeah, we did. Well, no, we didn't.
Because
you're believing your propaganda, your side's propaganda.
You're defining it as
Taiwan,
propaganda.
You cannot.
Right. You believe your own. Guys, it's your propaganda, and you believe it.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's that simple. You wouldn't be sitting in this position as a CNN interviewer if you didn't have a certain bias. You are hired by CNN because you have that bias.
Hey,
That's why you
friends, I
have that
got one.
particular job. That was a Noam Chomsky.
I got one for you. I got one for you. You know, speaking of believing your own propaganda, so there's basically four items of propaganda from the United States. Well, if you include the South China Sea, there's like five, but the four main items of propaganda are that China, evil China, is genociding and using forced labor with the Uyghurs. Okay, that's number one. And then we have China has ruined and is suppressing and taking away all freedoms and rights in Hong Kong. It's more and more nonsense. And then number three is Taiwan, is threatened by China rather than, no, Taiwan is part of China and you guys are the problem. That's number three. And then number four, we can say South China Sea, these other things that China's the aggressor. Yeah, okay, fine. So going back to forced labor. China is the one being accused of, quote, forced labor. Okay. First of all, name the international company that works in China, that operates in China, including, of course, Xinjiang, and hires the Uyghurs. And this would be, off the top of my head again, Apple, Volkswagen, Muji, Skechers, Adidas, McDonald's, Burger King, Tesla. Name a few. Starbucks must be there. And none of these companies ever said, oh, yeah, there's a forced labor problem in Xinjiang. Now, you have to understand, by the Chinese government, if you operate in China as a, quote, factory, you are required to follow the Chinese government's requirements, which forces you to make sure that you're not doing forced labor. They want confirmation that you're not doing it. So you must do Coca-Cola, announced and unannounced audits, right? So either all these companies are lying because they submit their reports. Of course, there's no forced labor. What are you people crazy? If there was forced labor, if we engaged in forced labor, we'd be fined millions of dollars. We'd be thrown out of the country. Our factories would be shut down. Of course, there's no forced labor. Oh, but we have to pass the Forced Labor Act in Congress. It's like these people are detached from reality. But where's the real forced labor? Just the other day, the article, that I read, our current Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris, said in court, I'm paraphrasing what she said in court during some court case about all the Black prisoners who are imprisoned in the United States. And she basically said to the court, her argument against the court case, whatever the heck it was no, we can't do that. And our reason is it would be bad to let them all out of prison because it would affect the needed prison labor pool. This was her argument in court. She's the vice president.
Keep them in there. Keep them in there because we need them to work for free. We need the profits that we make from the prison labor.
I mean, whatever they're doing, they say, oh, we're the monsters. We're doing it. So we have to just accuse the other guy. Well, the other guy must be doing it too. Can't be that they're bad. They're not bad like us. It can't be they're not bad like us. So we have to accuse them of doing it, even though there's no evidence whatsoever that they're doing it. We can go on and on and on. Fernando, back to you.
Well, I want to mention something that is extremely upsetting to me. America purports to be the beacon of freedom of speech and freedom and democracy and all these things. This is something that came to my attention this morning, and I tweeted it back at Ambassador Nicholas Burns. Let me show this to you, please. This is a new question. Let me see until it loads up. Are you seeing it, Mario?
Yes, it's there.
This is a new question that you need to answer when you apply for a visa to the United States.
Wow!
Do you have a social media presence? What is your social media presence? What is your Facebook? What is your Twitter? What is your your YouTube channel. We would like to know what are you saying about our country. So I
Wow.
suppose
Wow.
I've already tweeted this and I added Secretary Blinken and Ambassador Burns are like, I suppose I'm going back to Colombia via Europe or South Africa because
Freedom of
you're not
speech.
going to
Yeah.
renew
Freedom
my
of
visa
speech,
ever
baby.
again.
Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, Fernando. What are you complaining about? Freedom of speech. The American way. Yeah. Bunch of baloney, man.
So watch out what you put on social media. If the Americans don't like it, they might not give you a visa. And then who's the authoritarian? And then who is the regime that
Uh,
doesn't allow freedom of people? Huh? Tell me, Mario.
we're mocking this issue. I want to make a very, very important point because this is the difference. America pretends to have freedom of speech. They lie about it and freedom of everything else that they claim that you have in their democracy, which literally isn't a democracy and doesn't exist. I want everyone to be this is a very important point, and I think Fernando agrees with me 100% on this as well. I want it to be very clearly understood that we are not against, let me just say I'm not against freedom of speech. I'm also not against management and control and censorship of speech. I'm not against it at all. And neither are you. No one is. Wait a minute. What are you talking about, Mr. Ma? Ladies and gentlemen, there are rules and laws of behavior and action and your speech which exist all around you in your daily life, in every country in which you live. And I don't think China has any more of those laws than any other country, including the United States. And what am I talking about? Well, do you have rules and laws against behaving a certain way in certain environments? You see, I've just sucked you into the stupidest conversation in the world. This conversation doesn't even need to take place. It's called, yeah, I live in a civil society. I'm required to behave. And there's lots of rules and policies and laws in place for all of us, requiring us all to behave. If you go to public school and you're a high school student, you can't sit on your desk during class. The teacher says, sit down, and you have to sit down. It's the rule, it's the law, it's the policy. If you don't do it, you get sent to the principal's office. Is that lack of freedom? You can't look at the teacher and say, I want to sit on my desk, Mr. fucking Jones. You're a douchebag. Can you say that in class? And Mr. Jones says, well, I don't agree with your freedom of speech, but I'd like to continue the math class, Johnny. Is that the rules in America? Right? Is that the rules in the United States of America or Germany or Italy? Or no, ladies and gentlemen, we are censored. We are controlled, not as a matter of authoritarian regimes of any sort wanting to control us, but as a matter of we are human beings living in a society, living in a community, and we are all required to do our part amongst within the societal mores and values, whether it's based on the Judeo-Christian ethic or the Islamic ethics, of which are peaceful, or whether it's based on the Confucian and Hindu and Buddhist ethics and Taoist ethics that you find in the East. We are all required to follow and censor ourselves, okay, to be decent and guarantee. And why am I required to do this? That's a great question. Why am I limited? To ensure the civility and harmony and stability and harmony and safety and stability of everybody else in the community. I cannot ruin their stability and safety and harmony and civility. That
Mario.
is what censorship and control is all about. Okay, I'll stop there.
Um, I 100% agree with you. The loss of values and the loss of
Yeah.
moral compass in America is
Yeah.
without comparison.
No,
But I wanted to take a small second to thank Alejandro Latorre. Alejandro Latorre is an Ecuadorian follower, and here's an important part that I need to mention to those of you watching us in English. Most of Latin America consumes Western media. The media is produced in America and then is sent out to all these TV channels, radio stations in all those countries in Central America and South America. And what we get is the regurgitated media lies, because we know media lies. You just heard it from the Wall Street Journal. So it's extremely important that those people who are able to watch this message and understand it in English share it and ask and engage and have an open mind to learn from people like Mario and myself. Together we are what, 45 years in this country? I've been 22, you've been 23 if I'm not mistaken. We can tell you how things are. We can show you, we can demonstrate to you that the rhetoric that you hear in the West is not factual. Alejandro, I need you. I need you and every bilingual viewer out there to help spread this message around.
please.
We in Latin America don't get any of this, none of this. And I am too caught up in all the things that I'm doing to be creating content in Spanish. I would love to have interviews with Latin American media. I've done 2 interviews so far, but the message is so far out that they're like, no, just that's an oddity. We need to be mainstream. We need to be heard in, well, Western media and particularly in my case, Latin American media. So, Alejandro, thank you very much for this comment, and that's all I wanted to say about this. Um,
Next
so
item.
we're next next item. For
We done
me,
for today?
I have one more thing to say is, what are you doing if you're a foreigner living in China?
Oh,
If you're an American living in China, if you're a British person living in China, if you're a Mexican, if you're a foreigner living in China, your life and that of your families are being put at risk by the actions of the United States, which we have demonstrated to you are without basis.
ask me about that.
China was not going to invade Taiwan. China has no intention to invade Taiwan.
Ever.
Pelosi caused this situation. So the question to you, my friends, is what are you doing? What are you doing to stop the murderous, terrorist, hegemonic American regime? What are you doing? And anybody, please argue these words: murderous, terrorist, hegemonic regime of America. I leave it up to you to argue with me which of these adjectives is wrong and incorrect. So stay tuned because there are certain things that are in the works to allow you to do something about it. Isn't that right, Mario?
I'm not going to go into the details right now.
No, we're
I
not.
think, yeah, and we're going to leave it in a good place where we are right now. The issue is what you just brought up. I want to make a comment on it as my wrap up, and that is, like you said, I'm losing sleep these days, and I've been in China 23 years, and you and I started working together on important China issues. This war, this endless, not ridiculous yet serious consequence war on China. You and I started working on this stuff almost 2 years ago, right? Have I ever said to you, I'm losing sleep over this? Have I ever uttered those words to you ever, privately or publicly? No. I'm losing sleep. I'm losing sleep. That's
Yeah.
the situation. The situation we have specifically with respect to Taiwan is now experienced a major shift. They tried with Hong Kong, didn't they? Do you realize what they did in Hong Kong? Let's compare. Hong Kong was another US-led, funded, intentional color revolution. It was a small group of violent protesters organized by some organizers. There's video of the organizers of these people. There's video showing that it was foreign/US people who were doing it, organizing these people. And these people arranged and organized for a small group of, whipped up, violent college student age people who were sitting on college campuses in Hong Kong. Actually, I can't believe I'm about to say this to you to remind everyone. They were sitting on college campuses in Hong Kong making Molotov cocktails. They weren't doing it in private. They were sitting there doing it.
You saw images similar to this in the Euromaidan. Right? In 2014, in Ukraine, the Euromaidan, you saw the exact same thing. Youngsters, right. Young people, malleable people, people that are very easy to influence, by the roadside making Molotov bombs. Exactly the same modus operandi. Now, and you saw Nolan giving presents to the people in 2014. You know that this is exactly what they do. We just had Bolton say, yeah, I help around. I've helped in several different coup d'etats. And this is the leader of the world that we want to follow? Sorry, Mario, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah. This is what, so you can imagine, this is what they were actually doing in Hong Kong. They were going around setting public places on fire. They were assaulting, beating brutally, local Hong Kong citizens and visiting mainland China citizens. Okay. Could you imagine if they started this tactic on the island of Taiwan anytime soon? They haven't. Can you imagine if they do, Fernando? And my answer to you is now they can't. You see, Donald Trump, let me finish, please. Donald Trump even just pointed it out. He said, stupid Trump. He's right about so many things. It's a shame that he's an ass about so many other things. He said, stupid Nancy Pelosi. She handed them the excuse to go ahead and take control of Taiwan. And now they've got control of it and there's nothing we can do. I mean, and Trump's 100% right about this. So now, will they ever be able to start a color revolution in Taiwan with students throwing Molotov cocktails like they did in Hong Kong? And which, by the way, is exactly how the situation escalated in Tiananmen Square in 1989. And who was there? Pelosi. So this is all just a repeat of the MO, the modus operandi of the United States government going in and intentionally destabilizing the structure and society and sovereignty of other countries. This is what the United States does. This is not my opinion. This is not Fernando's opinion. This is not new, fresh, weird propaganda. We're just stating what the whole world knows in the historical record. And now here I am, an American expat in China, to the point where after 23 years, well, thank God I've got a green card, I am nervous. I'm losing sleep because the U.S. finally, somebody said it in the earlier, what Nancy did was the last straw. The one-child policy is gone. We have the new Taiwan paradigm. That's my name for it. And now we're going down an unknown road at a highly escalated level. But the positive side, and I already said it to you, is it's actually good that China is in control now. Somebody has got the United States brought to heel. And that's a good thing for the whole world, for stability and for peace. I'm done, Fernando.
There's two things that I want to say. Well, three, a very quick one. It happens to you and it happens to me. We end up saying one child policy instead of one China policy.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
We said it a couple of times, yeah.
Thank you, one China.
Yes,
thank you.
in your initial speech as well, and now you just did it. And in your CGTN also, you stop yourself in your CGTN one. It's so...
Wow, thank you. Wow, I didn't even hear myself do that. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to say is, when you look at Taiwan, any survey that has been done, any inquiry that has been done shows that the vast majority of people don't have any rush to change the status quo. What does that mean? They don't want independence. They don't want to separate. So when you have the leadership representing a minority idea, if they were to impose this on the majority of people who want to reunite, or don't want to change things for the moment, how democratic is that? How democratic is it to impose the will of this minority that wants to separate on the rest of Taiwan people? So that's a dynamic that we're going to see taking place in Taiwan. People are not, if this is going to get troublesome, if this sanctions, if we could call them that way, this limiting the amount of foreign commerce that can go through into the island goes on for a long time, there will be pressure from within to change the government of the DPP. They are the ones who failed. They are the ones who failed to tell Pelosi not to come. They're the ones who sold out. So interesting to keep that in mind. Now, I've forgotten what I wanted to say, what I wanted to say next. But anyway, guys, we've gone for
behind the scenes,
50.
Fernando, behind the scenes,
Yes.
There's also money in. I mean, let's not forget
Sure.
that. I mean, behind the scenes, it's DPP. Well, we don't want her to come. Well, she wants to come. Well, we don't want her to come. Well, we do want her to come. And but you got to understand that they're going to invest $8 billion in XYZ. So we got to let her come. I mean, there's a lot of money involved, and that's the reality. And that's where the U.S. does have power. So what are you going to do?
This Taiwan Policy Act, this Graham thing, you need to read between the lines. Our bill is a logical expansion of the military and economic relationship between our two countries. So we already talked about how stupid it is to call it a country, but is a logical expansion of military. What does that mean? Again, when you create fear, defense expenditure goes up. Who is selling those defense mechanisms and weapons? America. Who sells them? Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, the MIC, the military industrial complex. And who gives money to those politicians voting for this kind of legislation in their super PACs and in their donations? Well, the MIC. So when you realize that the people calling the shots and turning these situations around, something that China did not want, are not really even the politicians themselves. It's the puppet master. The puppet masters. So what's the way out? I can only guess, and I've said this before, financial. Removing America's strength is the way out. Somebody was asking me in one of my comments in one of my videos, how does Mario feel about China devaluing the American dollar? I said, like, I don't know, you have to ask him.
What?
I myself,
What?
I brought all my money to China. I don't have any property or any fortune at all in US dollars.
Kind of a weird question.
But
How is
yes,
China
that's
devaluing the American dollar? By dropping the reserves 100 below a trillion? Oh.
yeah, by selling
Okay.
their debt at a cheap price and then lowering the value of any other country's debt. But
No,
again, that's a speculation, and that's for different experts to talk about this.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
guys, that's all we wanted to share with you today.
Ah,
The war on China, the war
keep
on
going, but
China
I
is
need
not
to
a
make another
China war.
comment.
The war on China is not a China war. It's an American created war. That's where we are headed. So this is why we named this show The War on China. A constant myriad of attacks that we are trying to explain to you the reason why they are and what you need to know to help create a voice out there so that people can understand the truth and the fact about China. So I want to thank you all very much for watching, and remember, if you like, make it sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to our channels. Our channels are growing quite fast. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Voices from the ground are important, and share for the reason that I just explained. It's very important that more people get to hear this very um, apodictic, and that's Mario's word,
Yes.
facts about the
Wait,
reality of what we're going through.
let
Mario.
me make a final comment. May I make a final comment? You ready,
Yep.
Fernando? Yeah. Uh, I have to go back to what you were saying 3-4 minutes ago. I apologize. Um, I've been chomping at the bit. You mentioned about McConnell and raising up the U.S. Senate and Congress, talking about vastly increasing the military and economic relationship between Taiwan and the United States. I'm telling you, now I'll give you my quote prediction for the end of the show. No. China now, we are post one China policy. We are in the new Taiwan paradigm. China has permanent enhanced military presence. China has locked down Taiwan to this degree. Okay. Any further escalation, meaning more military commitments of equipment or whatever to Taiwan, China will simply take it, just like they took Hong Kong. They will never back down. They've taken control of Taiwan. They will take it and further take control of it exactly how they did. Well, slight different dynamics, but exactly the way they did with Hong Kong in 2019. And every other party walked away with their tail between their legs because they lost. This is exactly what will happen in Taiwan. If the U.S. further escalates, China will just further clamp and lock it down. We have a new permanent control of Taiwan, with Taiwan linked to the mainland, and that's where we're at. I'm done. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much. Friends, remember, like, comment, share, and until we see you again, take it easy and bye for now.